All right, Lauren, thank you. Turning now to the story of the man who was killed by some of the people who knew him.
Our Doug Reardon learned more about Patrick Lyoya's life and is in a studio tonight with more. Doug.
Yeah, Josh, Janice, Lyoya was described as the star of his family, somebody who loved to sing. He volunteered to join his church's choir, someone who loved to dance, even taught dance classes, and someone who deeply loved his family and his native home of Congo. We also learned that Lyoya did have a history with law enforcement, one that his family's attorney told me shouldn't and likely won't matter going forward.
Say his name! Patrick! Say his name!
Patrick! People the world over now know the name Patrick Lyoya.
Patrick!
But who was the 26-year-old tragically killed by a Grand Rapids police officer on April 4th?
Patrick was a loving person. He loved people.
In his family, Patrick was revered, the oldest of 6 children. A program handed out at his funeral called him a gem, a jokester, someone with a passion for soccer, song, and dance. Half that program was written in Swahili, the native language of the Congolese national who spent almost half his life in a refugee camp in Malawi before moving to the States at age 18.
He was ready to do something for his future.
The stories of Patrick Lyoya and Pastor Banza Mukale overlap in so many ways. Mukale, a Congolese native himself, also spent time in a refugee camp and was relocated to West Michigan a decade ago. He now ministers at Restoration Community Church in Wyoming. Mukale first met Lyoya almost 3 years ago when a friend started bringing him to services.
He was a good young man. He was very ready to change his life and doing something good. He had a future.
Hey, stay in the car! Stay in the car!
Mukale said he'd watched the video of Lyoya's death, now widely shared since its release 2 weeks ago, and is still shocked, still hurt by the loss.
So that was a big surprise, and it was, for me, it was like, I don't know how to say, it was heartbreaking. It hurt me so much.
A background check of Lyoya's past shows a history of run-ins with police. Lyoya was twice charged with taking a friend's car without asking, once getting into an accident and fleeing the scene. He's also faced charges for driving with a suspended license and a 2021 operating while intoxicated charge. 3 days before he was killed, a warrant was issued for a domestic violence charge Lyoya faced, but his family's attorney, Ven Johnson, said Officer Chris Schur, who killed Lyoya and was identified only this week, wouldn't have known any of that.
Anything that allegedly is going to be on there, this officer will not have known about. You would have heard the officer use that in one form or another, like, hey man, don't run away because I know you've got a warrant for blood. You didn't hear any of that.
Johnson said he hadn't researched Lyoya's criminal history. It's unlikely to be a factor in any civil or criminal litigation to come. And he says it's not anything to take a life over.
It is highly irrelevant, and it's true. It has nothing to do with anything in this instance. The harm that it does, if it's not coming in the civil case, more likely than not, it ain't coming in if there's a criminal case either. And then what we're doing is exposing our entire jury pool to all the dirt on my client.
Say his name! Patrick!
While Lyoya's death hit the Grand Rapids community hard, it's hit the local immigrant community perhaps even harder. The tight-knit group of African diaspora residents like Mukale see themselves in Lyoya's story.
What happened to Patrick, it was so discouraging for everybody. Any refugee you talk to, it will tell you the same thing. I have one son, only one, and I was trying to see the future of my son in this country. So it was like I don't know how to say, but I called him. I said, you must be careful.
It's a wound that's still healing, and maybe for a long, long time.
We're broken, and we're still mourning. And we can't forget Patrick because he was our son.
And we should also, of course, mention that Lyoya was also a father. He had 2 young children that he leaves behind. In the studio tonight, Doug Reardon, Fox 17 News.